It's a good day when it's a pretty straightforward, residential inspection. Everybody's on time. They have the keys. We get in, everything works, and we go through. But many cases like this one, this winter, we had a circumstance where a realtor showed up. I wouldn't say new realtor, but something they had never run into. Our septic inspector was there a bit ahead of myself and our other staff. And the realtor came out, eyes wide. Pipes are frozen, water's running in the house. Thank God, Mike, your septic guy was here. He ran in and shut the water off for me.
Welcome to a series of unfortunate real estate events, a podcast where we talk about real issues that come up from the time a property goes under contract to the time it actually closes, and what other real estate professionals can learn from these experiences. This week, I'm here with Joe DeLorentes from Tiger Home Inspections, and we're going to walk through not necessarily a closing that didn't go right, but an inspection that didn't go to plan, and ultimately how it turned out and what you can learn from it. Good morning, Joe. How are you? Well, actually, it's good afternoon now. So
Yeah,
good
good
afternoon.
afternoon. Thank you for having me. Sure.
Joe, I know we've interacted a lot through the board. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm familiar with you, but not all of our viewers will be.
Absolutely. So a little about myself and our company, Tiger Group Inc., or Tiger Home and Building Inspections, a statewide home inspection service. Our call center and office is based in Essex. Our team of inspectors, environmental technicians, as well as our business development live throughout the state of Connecticut, so we can service all these areas with local team members. Historically, my father founded the business 1992. I came along within the first couple of years, coming from construction, and mirrored the path, staying in construction and getting my home inspection license. At which point we decided this was something that had some legs and we could grow. It's been over 30 years for myself and longer for the company. And we've been as currently 28 employees, been a little bit bigger than that in the past based on the ups and downs of real estate, but I have a good, healthy company with great team members that have been with us a long time.
So you transitioned from construction, you said, over to home inspections. What
Yes.
was it just because dad started a business or was there something more to it?
A little bit of a couple things. My education background was in construction management in college, started in construction at a young age, before high school even. And that was, summer job, vacations from college and the like. Really, really, I actually still miss construction quite a bit. The physical act of seeing something change or ground up construction still itches at me a little bit, if I had to be honest. But, seeing myself even in the management side, construction can tire you out. This was a different avenue to apply that skill set and grow a business with my father. So that's kind of the way things went.
Perfect. So you have 28-ish home inspectors. And I say ish because
No,
I know that, so
total employees.
okay.
So currently 16 home inspectors, and then we have our environmental team who does our radon testing, well water testing, mold assessments, and the like. And in addition to that, our office team, right? So they're answering the phones, all local to us here in Connecticut. And then two, my sister Kara, as well as JJ on business development side of things. So
Right.
out
So
meeting with attorneys like yourself, realtors, mortgage folks, etc.
sounds like you have a pretty robust team there.
Yes, yeah, great people.
And you said you cover the entire state. So you have local, and I think you said you had local people all over the
Correct.
place.
Yep, living throughout the state of Connecticut, and we do cross over border towns of Rhode Island and Westchester and Putnam counties, New York. But those are with Connecticut folks that just live near the borders and have license in multiple states.
Perfect. Anything in Mass?
Currently, we do not have Massachusetts inspector. Little plug there. Interested in hiring for many things. And so anybody interested in home inspection, chimney sweep, septic inspection, we're in dire need of a universal player, and a Massachusetts license would be nice to have again.
All right, perfect. Well, if anyone's listening that's a Massachusetts home inspector or on the border and wants to see what they can do and kind of well-rounded, be sure to reach out to Joe. So, Joe, I'm going to transition a little bit into talking more about some of the closings or the inspections in your case that you've gone through that didn't go what's planned or something that was shocking and surprising that somebody can pay attention to. I know Connecticut has some unique houses in the sense of we've got which makes sense. We got some of the oldest houses in the state. We also have some of the probably newest, I would guess, too, because things are going up all the time. So let's start with some. We talked about a little bit of a story, so let's kind of get into it. So you
Yeah,
got
before we dive into that one story, you mentioned old. It's interesting. A couple times a year, I travel to national conferences and such, and you meet inspectors from other regions who are talking about houses from the 90s or 60s and how old they are. And it's almost laughable considering what we have in our region, be it age or condition or size of house or type of house. In our role, it's really trying to inform our clients as to what they're buying. The age old question comes around once in a while of, would you buy this or would you let your child buy this? And it's like we don't necessarily answer that question. We provide them with the information to make that decision because people are looking for all kinds of things. If some of our clients ever saw some of the flip houses that I bought in my younger years, they wouldn't ask me that question. Would you buy this? And, some people are looking in a specific neighborhood, so they're less concerned about things that may be wrong with the house. Others are looking for investment properties. Others are looking for, a farm or equestrian property. So we kind of stay out of that part and give them qualified information to make an informed decision as it may be.
So you guys are doing not just single families and the normal residential. You guys do farms and do you guys do commercial as well?
Yes, commercial, sizable commercial up to 300,000 square feet, industrial, medical, office space and such. A few of our inspectors specialize in that, a little different work there, the process and standards and such.
Yeah, I've done a few the farms and the horse farms. We have, people don't realize how many horse farms there are in our state as well. They
Yeah.
run, I've run into them a few times, and they're very different, a very different creature in terms of the closing process. And I got to imagine the home inspection is very similar too.
Yes. And then, you vary into some of the other government loans, USDA loans and the like, and things get a little bit different coming out of the appraisals and such.
Yeah. So let's go through that story. You told me you had a good story that we kind
Yeah.
of got a little sidetracked.
Yeah. So before we started, you mentioned finding solutions to problems, and I thoroughly agree with you. On a daily basis, we come across all kinds of different circumstances. It's a good day when it's a pretty straightforward, residential inspection. Everybody's on time. They have the keys. We get in, everything works, and we go through. But many cases like this one, this winter, we had a circumstance where a realtor showed up. I wouldn't say new realtor, but something they had never run into. Our septic inspector was there a bit ahead of myself and our other staff. And the realtor came out, eyes wide. Pipes are frozen, water's running in the house. Thank God, Mike, your septic guy was here. He ran in and shut the water off for me. But that worst disaster. This was a home that was an estate, and the family member down the street was supposed to be keeping an eye on it. They ran out of oil and froze the pipes.
That
So
seems to be a common trend this winter of
yeah, so
running out of oil and freezing pipes.
yeah. So you mentioned looking for solutions. I've been at this a while, and it takes a lot to kind of frazzle me. So nicely said, great, let's go look and see what we can do. When the client gets here, we'll explain what's going on, and we will give them the option of doing what we can do today and then figuring out how you as the realtor can help work through with the sellers about what they're going to do to take care of this, right? Fix the heat obviously first, fix whatever pipes froze, address the water damage with a professional company there that does that cleanup, and then come back and put the basically that was a finished basement that it all come down to, fix the ceiling, walls, floors down there. So the realtor was great with that. We were able to come up with some of the services that we could address on that day. I offered to do as much of the home inspection portion that we could complete, acknowledging that there was a chance we were coming back anyway for the exterior. We had a foot of snow on the grounds and such, and at Tiger, we offer a free return inspection for that. We acknowledge that we wouldn't be able to run any plumbing or heating at that time. Again, on that return, we would conduct that inspection. One of our mold assessors was there. That was a separate service that they had ordered. He suggested that he could go through that service and it would be beneficial because they had this multi-day flood literally in the house to do some testing now. Then water cleanup would happen on behalf of the seller's contractors, and then we could come back and reassess the mold. Turns out he found quite a bit pre-existing, so there was mold remediation to do and a clearance test to be done afterwards.
Okay.
On the environmental side of things, we decided to hold on the radon test because a lot of contractors would be in and out, right? So we couldn't close the house up.
That makes sense.
We had to hold on to well water tests because the water was turned off. And we got a little creative. They were super concerned. These clients had never had a well. So they were really concerned about us conducting our functional flow test where we run the well for an hour and give them gallons per minute and pressure readings and the like. So we were able to run that off the bottom of the well tank without having to turn the heating on and all the plumbing in the house. So we satisfied that. Test went well. Mike, our septic guy, was able to do his septic inspection and do his flood test with that same orchestration from the well. So it was like check, check, and check. Here's our list of things we finished. Build a little confidence back with that client, right? And here's the things that we were done. Yes, there's on top of the damage, there's a few things to address, but there's also a lot of things that are okay with this house that you're downsizing to. And then through communication, good communication with the realtor who, once he kind of realized, all right, we can get past this, I work with the listing agent and the like, and we got back to do some return inspections, finish the environmental tests, and this wonderful client, she was able to downsize and move into her new smaller house with a bunch of stuff that was freshened up.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like that was a huge victory, right? You were able to
Yeah,
still come in.
yeah.
So I'm assuming they closed because you went back and did the inspection. How long of a delay was there?
I would say that it was interesting too to complement the realtors. They're always dealing with their contract deadlines, right? So they were
Yes.
pushing it, and then it would be like, "Do you think the snow's going to melt?" I'm going, "This winter, I can't predict, right?"
Yeah.
And by the way, there hasn't been heat on in the house for a week, so it's not helping at all, not having it warm. But I'd say they probably lost 6 to 8 weeks time. But again, you're dealing with part of what worked here, Kishore, is it was the estate, right? So these folks had an interest in selling the house. I think the buyers and sellers respected each other, and it wasn't like, oh, that seller was going to buy something else and they needed to rush to close. It was kind of like, let's get the heat on, let's get the contractors in there, get everything set, and then you guys come back and we'll all move forwards.
Perfect.
Communication, right? That's the other thing. Other than problem solving, communication was fantastic.
That makes a huge difference, right?
Yeah,
Prevents small things of turning into big things when you have communication.
correct, correct.
I don't know that there's a good lesson we can learn from this, but if you had to take a lesson out of this, as a buyer, there's probably not much else they could have done differently. Seller probably should have maintained the house a little bit better.
Yeah, I would say the lesson that I would give to everyone is kind of what we reiterate to our staff all the time is acknowledge that there are solutions, as you said. We also acknowledge, as you probably do too, we're working with clients that are in one of the more stressful periods of their life. We're always telling the office team that the person that's calling is not the same person that they were a month ago before they went under contract for a house, right? And in knowing that, that's where, with a lot of our seasoned staff, they're able to take on a role like this, like, okay, not a big deal. Pipes burst. Let's do what we can do today. Let's create a plan, and move through this. So I think that's probably the best lesson is there are, like you said, there are solutions. And if we take our time as service people involved in these transactions to give information, give opportunities to move past these obstacles. Instead of me just saying, I'm not doing an inspection like this, I can only do half of it. It's not worth my time. See you later. Call me when everything's fixed. I think that would have created quite a negative for that buyer to be like, oh, now I got another obstacle to deal with versus supporting them in let's do what we can do. In all honesty, if I looked at dollars per hour or profitability on that job, it was probably a loser, but supported the realtor, supported our client's super happy. In the end, it's worth doing the right thing, doing the job properly.
Yeah, so I got to guess the client when she found out the water or the pipes had frozen that she was pretty stressed out about that.
Yes.
And you were there. So what tips or tricks did you do to kind of help calm her down, or did you have the realtor help out? What was the best way to? What was your
Well,
strategy?
to be honest, the realtor was a little on edge too. So my first comment to him was, no problem. We can figure this out, which I think is calming, and that allowed him to in the 10 minutes before the client arrived to figure out that, yeah, we can do this. Again, let's do what we can do today. I'm a big proponent of that. Let's figure out how much we can get done now instead of pushing everything and letting minds run wild, right? With negative thoughts. And then I talked her through, what we can do, what we can't do. Yeah, there was a little bit of additional fees for her for part of the return inspection, but she respected, my time and my team's time. And again, providing some information, some of that positive information on the day of the inspection allowed her to be like, all right, stuff's fixable and we can move forward. So I would say the lesson to reiterate to anyone involved in the transaction is look for the solution, right? Don't put the brakes on and bag it. Look for the solution and try to provide some support to the clients that we're dealing with.
I think that's a great lesson that came out of that, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think most people in our industry need to understand we're problem solvers, right? What you do, what I do, what the realtor does, there are a lot of people who can do it. The difference between someone that's good and someone who's not good is, are we going to solve a problem, or are we just going to leave people with a problem and not have a solution?
Right.
So being able to explain to people that, yes, there's a problem here, there's nothing to really worry about, but there's a solution,
Yeah.
right? I think that relieves a lot of the stress that our clients deal with.
Yeah, and we through our as we both know from doing the new agent training at the board, as many times as you try to help with some of these proactive things to prevent, I can't imagine what you have to deal with the day before closing stuff. It's like problem solving all day, every day. But you can try to help with these scenarios, but I think there's only so many that you can imagine. They just keep coming. And there are some stop gaps. One of the things that we learned a long time ago is to provide the termite inspection with every home inspection. Seems like a simple thing. We don't sell it as an add-on, most importantly, because people need that national pest control form, particularly for a government loan. And the night before closing is not the time to try to find a pest control operator or get termite treatment. So, we just say, yeah, it's right in your report. You're good to go. Don't panic.
Right. It's we were talking about Connecticut having some of those homes. I feel like Connecticut's also probably got a lot of termites.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
weather, the climate, it seems ideal for that pest control.
Yes.
That pest, I shouldn't say pest control, that pest
Yeah,
that
that
comes
that pest and as well as the carpenter ants and such. But however, you bring up another example of putting things into perspective for clients. That also helps because some people hear termite and they think of the cases down south where they always could gravitate towards, do I have to put the whole tent over my house to treat it? And it's like, no, no, no. We have subterranean termites here, very treatable, right? Think about, I always reference people, think about how many exterminator vehicles you see on the road every day. It's a very prominent service because these things are treatable and it's all fixable and warrantable. So that one is hard for people to understand when you say termite. For us, it's every day. It's probably 40-50% of the houses we're in.
yeah. Yeah. And we had kind of talked a little bit this before we started that, every home has an issue, right? Even I can imagine, I don't know, do you guys do much new home construction inspection? I don't know that a lot of people
A
actually.
fair amount. I mean, by volume, we don't have a lot of it going on in Connecticut compared to other regions of the country. So people fall back on the code officials inspection. When we do, it's a small percentage of our work, but we always find something interesting. So I would encourage people, for the money, it's very valuable and it comes with education on how to operate the house, how to maintain the house, in addition to what we may or may not find.
Well, I think that you're exactly right, right? There's certain things that can pass code that probably are not the best things. And we actually had a client that, and I don't know how it passed code, but they mixed hot water line and cold water line. So it was not, when you turn on the water in certain rooms in the house, it was lukewarm instead of
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
And the building official passed it. So there's an example, right? There's stuff that you guys are looking for in new construction that the building officials don't catch, right?
Yeah, and I have a lot of respect for them. I could actually see how that may happen because they're not getting into the same finite details that we are. I've never seen a building official on a CO go in and, run cold and run hot the way we would throughout the house. It's a little bit more focused on the general structure, installation code, and frankly, safety components. So Yeah, interesting. You bring up new construction. We did a new construction in the last month or so, and I don't think the building official wanted to go in the crawl space. We got down there. 8 out of 10 of the lolly columns in the basement were all askew. They didn't have the right plates on top of them. They were already compressing up into the main carrying beam, and our client was a bit shocked. But again, addressable before there was no closing in this case, but before the owner releasing the contractor with final payments and such, get the stuff
Yeah.
corrected.
Makes a huge difference, right? Everyone just thinks, okay, I'm protected. The billing official went through, but there is a value to have somebody come in that's looking at the house in more detail. And like you said, it teaches you a little bit about the house, right? So it's a huge advantage, not just for the home inspector to have, catch all the errors or the problems, but it's also to show you how to use your house. And I don't think enough people realize. I think they just think it's a step in the closing process, but this is your opportunity to ask questions about the house. Do you get a
Ye-
lot of clients that actually ask questions about the house, or are they
Oh
kind of
yeah,
just,
yes, we do, and I love it when our clients show up and are prepared with that list of questions. We start with a little driveway speech, tell them how the next couple hours, 3 hours are going to go. And then it's do you have any specific concerns or questions? And it's great when someone is prepared with that. How old's the roof is probably the number one. Heating and cooling would be number two. Termites is a highly up there question. But some of them have gone on their AI chatbot or online and prepared a list. That's way better than when Uncle Bob the contractor shows up and wants to rebuild the entire house.
yes?
But it's all good.
So would you recommend agents tell their clients to do a little bit of homework on what they should be asking a home inspection before to just help them out? Or is it something that the client should just automatically think of?
I would say that's a great tip for the realtors. In addition to that, there are several things that the realtor can do to help prepare a buyer for the home inspection. That's a good idea. You figure out if you have any specific concerns, bring questions. I'd say top of the list before that would be to encourage them to attend, because that is starting to diminish or has started to diminish in recent years. I'll just get the report and read it. It's great to be able to show people, gauge their interest, their level of concern. Reading the written report and seeing the pictures it's always going to be so much more negative than spending time in the house seeing some of the other things that are working right or positives with the house. In addition to that, I think creating some perspective for them, what you said, right? We live in an area where you're gonna find some problems with the house. They're based on age or deferred maintenance. So creating that kind of feeling for the buyer before they get there, right? As I like to say to them, that door in your house that you have to kind of pull the handle a certain way in the place that you live in right now, or that crack in the ceiling you've been looking at for 10 years and you never fix. Well, we're going to go under a microscope with your new house here, but remember that those same people have been living with that door or that crack in the ceiling, and it doesn't mean that it's a bad house or you got to fix this stuff on day one. It's all kind of part of the process, right? So that's kind of creates the perspective for people.
Yeah, I think it's huge because like when we bought our house, our home inspector, our front steps were sagging a little bit, right? Nothing of concern, but it wasn't visually pleasing, right? But they
Yeah.
pointed it out, and he's like, "You don't need to fix it. We don't need to ask the sellers for it. Just it's something on the radar." It didn't even make it into our report because it was not something that was important enough or something that was technically wrong, right? It was just a visual thing,
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
right?
All makes sense. Yeah.
So the other part of this is you guys might point out things that are visual or not that are not of major concern that makes it to a home inspection report, right? If there's you know, I don't know, a piece of peeling wallpaper, you're not going to point that out, but
Yeah.
in a report. But if you're at the house, you might point that out and say, "Hey, here, this is a little thing you can fix. It's not too difficult." Kind of guiding them a little bit. So I think
Correct.
it's super important. And the other part of it is, I'm pretty handy, but every house has a different place for the shutoff valve for the water, for gas, for electric. The panels, knowing where all that is, you guys are going to show that to the clients.
Correct. That's the education part of it and that varies by level of interest for clients, but always
Right.
great to help them with that. Here's where the filter is for your furnace, and these kinds of tips. So I could flip that around too for some listing tips for realtors that we always talk about in a lot of our realtor presentations. I would say that tip top of the list is encouraging sellers to make sure they have up-to-date service tags for things like HVAC. If there's a well on the property, has the conditioning equipment, the softener, et cetera, been serviced? Sediment filter, right? If we're going to come do a flow test and there's low flow, the sediment filter is clogged, we're not able to change that. And, there's a good chance when I try to take that apart, something's going to break and the seller's not going to have water. We can't do that stuff, but a fresh filter in there would give maximum flow and pressure versus, oh, it's probably just a sediment filter. Well, in the buyer's mind, it's like, probably is not really good enough for me right now. I want to really know what it is. Okay, call a plumber, get it fixed. Let's test it again. And this is where, as you know, the questions get raised, the buyer's emotions start to go. And there's simple things to address. Nice weather today. Probably first time people are turning their air conditioning on. I don't know many people that actually service their air conditioning, but most times when they realize they're broken is the first startup of the season. So anybody that has a new listing coming on, make sure the AC's been serviced. It's always high on the buyer's list. I'm not buying a house unless it has central air, right? Then you get there and it doesn't go on. Oh boy, that one creates a lot of concern.
Well, and now it becomes a big issue, right? Versus you have it serviced, maybe something minor, maybe it's a filter that's bad, or
Yeah,
it's you know circuit breakers off because like our house, I don't know why, but my wife always has me pull the breakers for the
you're
for
smart.
the air conditioning for the winter.
Yeah,
Things like that. It might be something minor, but now a buyer's freaked out. It's going to cost you more money.
bingo.
There, there's a lot of things. Do you guys do pre-listing inspections as well?
We do, and it's interesting. They never really took off in our market. We've been presenting it as an option for a long, long time. We get little bumps of activity with it. I think it's fantastic. We have a lot of realtor presentations on helping to present it to sellers. Most of our clients are the kind of estate sale. They don't know anything about the house, so they want to prep it. Someone who's lived in the house for a long time, and the realtor encourages them that, oh, everything's not perfect, but it allows them to control the transaction. And the common concern is, well, I don't want to disclose all this stuff, or, well, I don't have the money to pay for all this stuff. In my opinion, they don't have to fix all these things. They
No.
just need to know. And as you said, it gives them the opportunity to, if I know my roof only has 3 to 5 years service life left to it, maybe I can make some small repairs and get a letter from a roofer that has a price and says, hey, there's 3 to 5 years left. If you replace it now, the cost would be X. That's way better than a buyer jumping on the internet and trying to get a roofing price in 24
Yeah.
hours that might be inflated.
Or it's your AC unit just needs to be serviced, cleaned up,
Yeah.
made it's something minor. Now
Yep.
you go there and it's because there's a wool sweater on your air conditioning unit because you've never cleaned it.
Yep.
It's not running well. Now you got to have somebody out come out and test it, clean it, and then that gets expensive.
Yeah. Especially when you're trying to get it done quickly this time of year.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm one of the few that services our air conditioning every year, and
Congratulations. I love it.
yeah. Well, if you talk to my dad, he says I waste money on it every year, but that's it is what it is. But we do that, and we book it now. If we book it now, it's probably mid May before they can get out there.
Hmm. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're unless I want to pay an extra fee for them to come out quicker, so some places it makes sense. In terms of disclosing it, listen, the buyer's going to find all those issues. And the way I look at it is if I find out these issues, I disclose them, give the buyer, if I'm buying a house and I get a home copy of the home inspection, it kind of makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. It
Yep.
shows that you cared. It's like when somebody buys a new house and they have the manuals that come with everything, it makes the buyer feel a little bit better.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess in the same regard, they can present it as a list of, here's what we knew about, here's what we took care of. Maybe some sellers would extend themselves to buy a home warranty because they had a 25-year-old furnace that was working but aged. And that's all great stuff for a buyer coming in.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that was the other thing that the home inspector recommended because our boiler was from '98, still the
Okay.
original boiler. He's like, just buy a home warranty,
Yeah.
right? And it was the best decision because a week after we closed, the expansion tank went.
Oh boy.
And the home warranty, you call them, they come and take care of it. It's great.
Yep. Yep.
So
Those are good plans. Good plans for people.
yeah. Any crazy situations you run into in a home inspection of something extremely unique or shocking that you've seen?
We saw a fireplace some years ago in a basement that was no longer connected to anything. It was really an odd circumstance. A homeowner, I would guess, took it upon themselves to build a full masonry fireplace and then
Okay.
attempt to connect it to a metal flue and run like across the utility room into a thimble in the standard fireplace. Said metal pipe, which was improper to start with, had been removed. So you literally, the buyers had no idea. Again, estate sale, so it wasn't disclosed, but they thought they had a fireplace in their basement. You go around behind it and it went to nowhere. So yeah, curious stuff. You know, aside from that, I've been in some really neat properties, underground tunnels, things like that, from the garage to the house, and
Cool.
and lots of fun things as well.
Well, so I think that is a great ending point because I'm going to tell you that it does never make sense to waive a home inspection. And I know it's very popular right now, but you don't want to waive a home inspection exactly for what Joe just said. He had a fireplace that went nowhere. Now imagine if you lit a fire in that, you're going to smoke out your whole house as well as risk burning it down. But that is the key. You don't want to waive or give up of something that you is there to protect you, right? I mean, Joe's there to make sure that there's not something like a disconnected fireplace that burns down your house because you do something stupid, but it's also he's there to make sure that the pipes don't freeze, right? Or aren't frozen, making sure and telling you a little bit about the property. So, if you're looking for a great home inspector, be sure to reach out to Joe. Joe, I'm going to put your info in the show notes so that anyone can reach out to you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it. And absolutely appreciate the support about not skipping a home. The support on not skipping a home inspection. Make an informed decision. I understand the market is competitive, but still very helpful for folks. Follow us on social media. Lots more fun stories and videos and such. Always on Instagram, Facebook, etc. TigerInspect.com.
Perfect. And then if they're going to look for you on social media, on Instagram or Facebook, what are they?
At Tiger Home Building Inspections.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you. Enjoy the day.
You too.